Hello everyone, Rose Pants here, and today I am kicking off the little, well not little, it's kind of big because it's going to take a really long time to complete. We are going to be going through the pot book. I've chosen select chapters since this is quite comprehensive. Each week I'm going to highlight a different chapter from this lovely book right here, and I don't know, just go through the key parts of it and just spread the knowledge, because this is shit that everyone needs to know, because this book does a really great job at not being biased, you know, it's honest information, and that's as simple as it gets. So let's just get right on into it. Chapter 1 is the subjective effects of cannabis. It is edited by Julie Holland, but there is contributions from so many, a huge wide variety of people. So this chapter 1 is done by Matthew J. Kirkpatrick and Carl L. Hart, PhD. So they know what they're talking about. Chapter 1, it kicks it off with an example of what subjective effects of cannabis are, and it was something that I knew instantly what they were talking about, and they bring up the example of the cop and his wife who make pot brownies. They eat the pot brownies and then essentially freak the fuck out and think that they're dying. Now this is a great example because the definition of a subjective effect, it simply refers to subjectively experienced changes in one's physiological or psychological state following drug administration. So obviously these two individuals had not had very much experience or very much knowledge about what really happens to you when you consume cannabis. So they obviously didn't know what to expect, and then when the onset effects occurred, they took it as that they were dying. Now the key thing that we learned from this example is the reaction that people had from this video, because it definitely did go viral. I'll put the link below just in case you hadn't heard it. The real lesson lies in the fact that no one was ever seriously concerned for these two people's health. They knew that they were not actually in grave danger. Even the dispatcher, when they're having this discussion, says, "Do you guys have a fever or anything? How much did you guys have?" Like there was no sense of urgency in this dispatcher's voice. I mean, they just weren't fully concerned, and they became a laughingstock on the internet. According to a 2008 study, 3.5 million Americans reported smoking cannabis on a very regular basis, like daily or near daily basis. And that's just the people that were honest. Imagine how many people lied and said they didn't smoke regularly. There's another 14.5 million reporting that they smoked at least once a month, and then over 100 million have tried it at least once in their lives. After they established the fact that so many people do have a base for their subjective view on cannabis and how they are going to kind of assume that they're going to react a certain way after administering the cannabis. So this chapter focuses on two main factors of a person's subjective effect of cannabis, and that is going to be what they call the route of administration, if you're either smoking it or eating it, and then the individual's marijuana history. Obviously this is going to play a huge role in how a person is going to perceive cannabis in general. There's this quote that starts, "It is important to note," so I just feel like I need to share this directly. If you're following at home with your version of the pot book, it's on page 13, saying, "It is important to note that although the onset and offset of drug effects vary depending on the route of administration, the effects produced by marijuana are qualitatively similar despite the route of administration." Let me know down in the comments below what you guys think about that statement, because obviously there are two sides to an effect of cannabis. You know, they point out that marijuana associated positive, like euphoria, it was highly like across the board, reported when they had these studies. It was done in 2005. There was reported increased ratings of high, good drug effect, and stoned after the administration of smoking marijuana. So there's that side where it's really great. People have a great reaction. But then on the other hand, there are, what do they call it? Deleterious effects, which is like anxiety. And moving on to that second factor that this chapter focuses on, the importance of a person's cannabis history. They imply that because of this cannabis history, someone with a positive background will report that they have that positive and enjoyable high feeling after using cannabis, smoking marijuana. And then on the other hand, someone who's more of a novice, they're not going to report that it was as enjoyable if they don't have that background going into smoking in the first place. The last part of chapter 1 focuses on the subjective effects and potential for abuse. I mentioned before that this is a very unbiased view on cannabis. It's just like straight facts. So of course we are going to be delving into that subject. According to the 2007 treatment episode data set, marijuana accounted for about 16% of all drug treatment admissions in the United States. I would consider that a pretty small number. Let me know down in the comments below if you're shocked by this figure, if you thought that it would be higher, if you thought it would be lower. Usually the way that these studies work is called self-administration, where the participant is offered the drug or they're offered something else like money, and then they see which one they choose. Obviously, if you choose the drugs, you're a drug addict. So pretty much all studies have shown that marijuana has a low to moderate potential for abuse. They also note that marijuana-related subjective effects and self-administration are disassociable, making it more difficult to predict the drug's abuse potential by assessing only subjective responses after administration. Now, after all those highlights of Chapter 1, I think it's time that we get high. So let's reward ourselves for learning more about cannabis and this plant that I smoke every day. I think you might smoke it every day as well. Hope you guys enjoyed. I really hope you guys enjoyed that. This was chapter 1 of the pot book. I just totally threw my lighter. I went through the pot book. Chapter list. Decided on which chapters I'm going to highlight, put it on the calendar, and if we do this every Friday, we're going to be doing this until October. We are not going to stop talking about this until October, so I hope you guys are ready. Next week we'll be getting into the, what do they call it, early/ancient history of cannabis. We'll see you guys then.